Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. I have with me once again Suzanne Bernert, my friend, who's gonna tell us what's happening in Europe. You guys know, my काफी time से I've been trying to cover Europe piece by piece, try and keep an update on what's happening in that part of the world, because it's very important that India starts looking at these things as well, because we can't be stuck in our neighborhood. They keep talking about us, so we keep talking about them. Namaskar. Thank you so much for especially this
नमस्ते।
line that I came up with before the interview.
या बढ़िया लाइन है। ये लाइन तो बिल्कुल सही है, क्योंकि हम लोग तो यहाँ हैं और यूरोप तो बहुत दूर लगती है, लेकिन इम्पैक्ट तो है। we are
Yeah,
not we are not on an island anymore, are we? I think we
we are
are
not.
all interconnected. We're not on islands anymore. It doesn't matter where you are and what you're doing, something or the other is going to impact you, even though you think it might not impact you. So,
Yeah, I mean, and especially the problems that Europe is facing are similar problems that this neighborhood is also facing, which is immigration, radical Islam, terrorism, over influence. All these things are the same problems. If you look at it, we had something in Bangladesh, which is now going to become a predominantly Islamic problem, and we see the same thing in Germany, right? So I want to start with Germany itself. Germany is going through a bit of a challenge. I mean, it's not coming down. Uh, Recently, some mosques have been kind of raided. Some mosques have
yeah,
been
one,
shut down,
yes,
connected with the
yes.
terrorist incidents and this and that. So, what?
Yeah, that
How do
was a
you see?
shocker. I
Hmm.
think that the country in itself, Germans, are not used to any kind of terrorist activities. Even though we had this one incident where a guy drove into a Christmas market, and but basically, the normal German is not expecting any kind of terrorist attack on their soil. They just don't. I mean, except for 1972, the Olympic
Munich.
Games, that was a huge thing. But targeting, like, I feel the average German just feels very safe in the country, and that was broken that weekend because the knife attack in Solingen. Solingen is a city that was celebrating its, I think, 650th birthday, and they had celebration planned for the next 3 days. So that was completely stopped in every surrounding city, and I think even German-wide, a lot of cities were deciding not to have any celebrations for the time being because of the situation. And then whatever is going on, they're going to hike up security everywhere.
Hmm. So,
It's
what do
it's
you think?
it's. What do I think?
What do you think is basically the cause right now um, that is letting the government do also all these taking making the government take all these actions?
Yeah, they have to if they want to keep
The
the
previous
citizens
incidents
safe.
happened about 2 3 years ago. So why now?
Why? Yeah, because I don't know. It's a country that prides itself on inclusivity. It has the open door policy. Was always very welcoming to refugees and immigrants. It's been a country that was known to take people in and make them part of Germany.
Hmm.
If these people want to be part of Germany, that's another question. So there are a lot of people who have come into the country who have made their life there, who are just living their life in Germany. They are from somewhere else, but they love the country. They want to be there. And there are people who come in and they have other ideas. And to weed those people out is a little like a very big problem and a very taxing problem because you can't see on the surface what's going on in the minds. No?
That's there. We also see in Germany the AfD, which is the alternative for Germany, alternative for Deutschland, has
Yeah.
become the first right-wing party to win a German state election since 1945. Uh,
Yeah.
how do you what is the reaction in Germany for that?
I don't really. I think there's a lot of like disbelief happening right now. That is actually is happening. Then you have
Hmm.
to understand that the two states that had just the elections there were the GDR. So for the people who don't know, Germany was not one big country. We were like divided. There was a wall going through the whole country, and then there was East and West Germany. So a lot of people still ask me, "Are you from East and West?" And I'm like, "I'm German." So yeah, I was born and raised in West Germany, but for me, it didn't have such an impact because I was too young to understand what's going on.
Hmm.
But the East Germans have been left behind, basically. There has been a lot of development economically in a lot of Germans, East Germans feel left behind and not heard by the government.
Is
And
it?
that has gone on since the reunification. It's been 30 years and they're having a hard time catching up because there's even like an income discrepancy, there's an infrastructure discrepancy. There are a lot of companies that are there that are doing well as well. But there's still this whole, we call it Aussie Wessie, like West. The West person is called Wessie as a nickname, and the East German is called Ost. What is East is called Aussie. So right from the beginning, there was a little this kind of like different mindset coming from a socialistic background. We are coming from a materialistic, secular, democratic background. So there was a lot of clash going on in the middle between people on a normal basis. And when I worked in a department store in Berlin, and I was so there were women who were from the east of Germany, and they in talks. Now I wish I would have had deeper talks, but at that time I was not so really into politics and everything. I should have talked more to them, but what the gist was like, we don't feel equal.
Why?
We don't. This I think that's like a huge debate, and I would have to read up more on it because there has been money pumped into East Germany. There has been infrastructure done and everything, but bringing a country that didn't have the kind of economic rise like West Germany had. From after the war, there were a lot of companies coming in, building an arm. There was help from America. There were like financial things happening in the west of Germany that the East didn't have. Now the East suddenly has to catch up to this gap that was there from after the war to when the reunification happened. So it's not that easy to bring them up to the same mark. And also the education system was different there. The ideas were different there. How people were living, how they were identifying, how difficult it was to get stuff. So the liberalization of the economy was definitely something that East Germans were very, very appreciative of. But I don't know if the ideology is suiting some of them, if they feel like they grew up in a different mindset and now suddenly they have to change everything, and maybe there is something that is not really happening.
All right, because one thing that we are noticing is that Germany itself, East, West, whatever, is losing a lot of business. We've got the news today morning that Volkswagen is considering closing its German factory, 87-year-old factory.
It's a shocker. It's a big shocker, and it is like unbelievable to see that because they gave job guarantee until 2029, and now they're going back on it. And this is a company who had like billions of plus last year, and they had a huge dividend payout for the shareholders. And so it's a little bit like what just happened and why is it happening. So there's this whole debate. If anybody wants to go in deep dive into this, they should go on Twitter and just put Volkswagen, because there's all these tweets about it. And what I found interesting is that the whole idea was that maybe the whole shift towards electric
Hmm.
battery cars is a
Hmm.
problem because it makes the car more expensive. The only battery uh, factory that Germany is working with or who's having the ingredients for the batteries sits in China. So you're dependent on China for that.
Hmm.
And the EU has just cut down on a law. There was supposed to be a law of zero emissions, and it was supposed to come in 2035, I think, and now they have pushed it to next year. So suddenly all the car makers are supposed to have zero emission until next year, 2025, and if they don't adhere to it, there will be heavy fines. So I don't know what all plays into this. So you have these regulations that are happening. You have a dependency on China. You have a market that is having cheaper models and good cars on the market. So the competition is very high. The beginning model, the entry model for the Volkswagen is like 18,000 euros, what is a lot of money in today's economy. Not everybody can or wants to afford this. So a lot of things are playing into it. But it's a big shocker because people who were thinking their jobs are safe, suddenly they're standing there and it doesn't look like they are safe.
It's really insane because the funny thing is, I mean, this government which is there in Germany is absolutely incompetent. There is just no question about it. And I don't see German people talking about that. You've got people like Annalena Baerbock, who's been uh, caught with what? I mean, she used to spend what, 2,000 euros for the look.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think I want to have that number. I think it's like a lot what she's using
yeah,
for her
but
makeup.
whatever. I mean, it's not specific, but she was using the government funds to make sure that she's dressed up well. She wanted to use a whole lot of the machinery to get her dinners sorted out and this and that and everything. We know the whole green agenda in Germany is not really work, right? How do you why aren't the German people standing up? Like if you see in UK, people are at least protesting and yeah, rioting. I don't agree with it all. There is some
Mm.
protest happening in UK. There's some protest happening in France. There's something happening in um, Italy, but Germany just quiet. Why?
I think they only have demonstrations at the moment against the right wing.
Hmm?
So there was this like grandmothers against right, and they won some peace prize for it. So that's going on. So there are demonstrations happening. There are pro-Palestine demonstration happening. There are right-wing demonstration happening. Then there are anti-right-wing demonstration happening. Then people are gluing themselves onto the runways of airports, going in. How they got in with the glue and how they entered even that runway is beyond me. Because if I have to check in, I go through thousands of checks and I have to show my papers everywhere and I have to be identified. How they ran to the runway, that is happening. They glue themselves, so they're for the environment. But yes, economically, nobody is going on the road. Nobody is demonstrating against what's going on in the country economically. And I know for a fact I've talked to many people, including my parents, that it's a hard time. It is not what it used to be. You can't live like you used to. You can't afford the holidays that you might have been able to
Hmm.
afford. There are people who get like, especially women. See, the thing is that there is this whole if a woman was a housewife and she has worked and she has raised two kids, that is not being considered like work. So sometimes she's left with 400 or 500 euros per month from the government side
Hmm.
as pension, what is definitely not enough. So somebody who has worked her life to give have children and have a family, that person is being left with not enough income to have a okay kind of a retirement. She has to go and basically take help from the government and apply to different organizations to get some subsidies and social economic help. And I find that
I say,
sad. Yeah, and it's an aging population. I mean, the average
yeah,
age there is 47, I think,
yeah.
and India is 24.
I sent you a map, although it doesn't really represent much as far as the location of mosques and all that is concerned. But I
Mhm.
did some research after I sent it to you, and it does seem like most of these mosques are located in the western part of Germany. There
Yeah,
are a few
yeah.
in the east as well. I mean, Berlin has a few, Leipzig has a few, and stuff like that. But the maximum of them are located in the western part.
Mhm.
Now, what is that? One,
That's
you have
interesting because
discontent between the west and the east, and then
for
you have
me it is.
this.
Actually, this is a surprise for me as well because I never looked at that. I didn't expect so many to be there. It was like in one state there are like 19, and I was a little like, oh wow, when did that happen? Because some of them are centers, so they don't have the look of a mosque, so you can't really make
Hmm.
out that they're there. And Germany always was priding themselves on inclusivity, so they were like allowing it. I mean, the same way you have other faiths living there and having their centers, these centers are there. But it is very interesting that they are hardly there in the East. So does it mean I would have to see where who built the mosques and which population is supporting that, and are they more concentrated in that? Are there none of those in the east of Germany? If nobody's living in the east of Germany, then they also don't need a
I
center.
saw this same thing happening in Belgium. The
Oh,
city called Molenbeek, right? It's impossible to go there. It's become very hardcore radicalized, and it's very difficult to go there. Molenbeek was the highest contributor per capita to the ISIS,
oh, wow.
uh, right? So that's a I mean, it's a scary sort of a scenario.
It's
Let's move
scary,
to
and
Italy.
I think very for the normal German, it is very very difficult to understand a different mindset because they always go under the idea is always like the way I'm thinking, everybody else is thinking.
I I was actually going to
And
switch to Italy, but you kind of brought the question here. Is because, see, German society itself is a very hardworking society. I know that they're sincere people. They want to work hard, earn their living, go back home, drink some good booze, go off to sleep. You know,
have a beer
just about it.
and a
Yeah, have
pretzel.
a beer, go off to sleep, and that's it. It's how the country is. I've been there. I've seen it. It's People are very, work time, this and that. The minute it touches 5, everybody's just laid back, relaxed. There's not much rush. There's a lot of work life balance. There's a lot of people believe in a lot of culture and this and that and everything. So you see all that just going off, and not one single German standing up and saying, if there are other countries like UK, people are protesting, people are standing up. I wonder where the German society is gone.
I wonder if it has to do with a certain kind of I can't take anything else anymore. I feel that especially after 2020, when I talk to people, they say I don't want to watch the news anymore. I don't want to know what's going on. I just want to live on my small little island, and I don't want to read the news. I don't want to know what's going on in the world because you have to have a certain kind of mindset. And I don't know how a lot of people got emotionally and maybe even a little psychologically derailed in 2020 with COVID. It had a
Hmm.
huge impact on a lot of people, and I had discussions on this as well. Whether people, they say I'm a refuser. I don't want to know what's going on in the world. I don't want to know what's going on in politics because even if I do something, nothing will change. So there has been a certain kind of I'm being lied to anyways. What will it change if I say something? What will it do if I change something? And that's where it comes to the AfD and why they have such high numbers and why people were voting for them. Because they are telling them, they're promising them, we will help you and we will fix all these problems.
Hmm.
Because they feel left alone.
The
So
funny
I
thing
think
is,
it's, hmm,
I mean, the Ukraine war is the clearest, the biggest reason for what is happening in Germany today, and nobody says anything about it. It's amazing, you
yeah,
know.
I don't know if to some extent also this still the Second World War guilt is playing into this. The kind of like not wanting to be an aggressor, not wanting to put your foot down, not wanting to come across as pushy or demanding or putting down boundaries.
Mm. We also have Italy. Italy's kind of going through its own this thing. Meloni got elected on a very hard line. She was supposed to be the hardline leader of Europe and stuff like that. She kind of mellowed down, and she went by the flow the
She
way she
mellowed
was
down,
going. She
yeah.
mellowed down quite a bit. She did. She
You
probably
have
realized,
to.
yeah.
I think everybody who thinks that once they are in the politics that they can do whatever they want, and then democracy hits. I don't think anybody can do what they actually want to do unless they're just like shutting
The
themselves off
Yeah,
from
but
other
the funny thing
things.
is, Italy and UK are the two countries in Europe which are actually making arrangements for their refugees to be sent to other countries. UK had said Rwanda, which is kind of didn't work out.
Yeah.
Italy's on its own. Tunisia,
Algeria,
Albania, where are they sending them?
I
One of
think
these two
Algeria.
places. And Algeria, sorry, yeah. And you can imagine they're just basically sending out their refugees there, and nobody has anything else to say about it. But one thing that Albania,
Achha. Yeah, yeah.
right?
Sorry, one more
Albania,
thing.
yeah. So now, how do you think this kind of goes forward? Because the whole freedom, democracy, inclusivity narrative that the EU kind of purports and puts out all the time, कि भाई हम ही हम हैं तो क्या गम है? You know, if we start throwing out Bangladeshi refugees, we'll have 50,000 sanctions on India. Or
Yeah.
Bangladeshi, I won't call them refugees; it's illegal immigrants. But Italy is planning to literally put them out and throw them out into wherever it feels like. Nothing happens. Have people in Europe in general, Italy, Germany, France, have they realized the problem of illegal immigration?
I don't think
Because in
so.
America, people have realized it.
Yeah.
Uh, UK, yes, to a certain extent, but in Europe,
I don't think so, because the whole thing is that each country is having their own ideas, and then the EU is there on top of it. So the whole idea of a united European nation is all one. And I feel the EU many a times they just like some of their ideas and values and the kind of clauses they want to bring out and the kind of laws they're bringing out, they're going directly besides the point. Chai be it in Kisan steps, many a times they're bringing out really, really weird laws that the farmers say, "Ah, hum kya karenge uske saath?" Yeah,
hmm,
this can't be implemented. Sorry. And the same thing I just told you about Volkswagen or any car automobile manufacturer in Germany. By next year, zero emission. हो ही नहीं सकता. I mean, like, what are they thinking? You have to be also a little bit living in the reality and not only into this. We're sitting here, we're coming up with these really great schemes, and then yeah, we're implementing it. And then the country is like trying to figure out how to do that. About immigration, I have no clue, because that Syrian guy who stabbed the people in Solingen and killed 3 and injured, I think, 5 more, he was
hmm.
supposed to have been deported back to Bulgaria last year. And then they were trying to pick him up in the center in one of these immigration, refugee camps. And he wasn't there, and they couldn't find him. And there are many, many stories like this. The thing is, how do you control masses coming in? I think a lot of times it's also like completely overwhelmed. Government's
Hmm.
overwhelmed. They don't know what to do, because if in one go, I mean, thousands of people stand in your front step. Even if you want to, you can't feed them all. What to do with them? Where to put them? You just send them back? You can't send them back. There's an ethic problem. Then there you see children. Then it's being propagated in a certain way, and it's
It's very
I wouldn't
unnerving.
know what to do. It is unnerving, and it's like you don't understand it.
Well,
And
they need to just
this
do
is
simple things, close down their damn borders, which they refuse to do. Let people stand wherever they want to. They'll stand there for a month, two. They'll go back after that, because if there's no place to go, they will go back. Uh, if you keep allowing people inside, like, honestly, there was a time in India where these Rohingyas were literally allowed to come inside, and
yeah.
they still create a lot of havoc. I understand it's very difficult for governments to start throwing out people. It's not, I mean, it's just not possible, because they're human beings. Something happens, you'll have a, sorry to say, shitstorm coming your way. um, it's this thing. But these countries are dying, and it's weird that these guys are not wanting to do anything about it.
I think
France is again in.
there's a big disconnect between what politicians are seeing and the way they're living their lives. I think they are somewhere on their little island, and they don't have the connection with what's going on in people's lives or what's going on in the world. Even though they're thinking they do, I don't think they do. And those people would need advisors to tell them, "Acha suno meri baat, aisa hai." And I don't think that the governments are having these kinds of people telling them the truth.
It's can I ask you one simple thing? Do you think that the rise of the right in Europe today, will it really impact uh, will it really happen? A lot of people are praying for it. Okay, that's the only power in Europe that can actually come and sort this out is the right. So you'll
Mhm.
have Germany, some right wing party coming up. You'll have Italy, which is allegedly right wing from
Yeah,
Meloni.
but you just said it. She can't do what she wants to do. It's not
Fair
that
enough, but
easy.
that's the
No.
perception. If four of them get together in Europe, are they able to do it? Because I think they tried during the EU elections, but they voted back Ursula von der Leyen.
Yeah, well, I don't know why.
What's that all about?
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see. And first of all, every country is different. Just putting everything under the label of the European Union is very difficult because
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
Italy to France, Germany, you have already three different cultures, three different type of people, three different temperaments, language. There's so much difference between the countries in itself. So whatever is a right wing and the way they're identifying themselves and what kind of belief system they're having in these three countries is already a different one. It's not the same. And in Germany, it will always have the sting of the Second World War, and it will always have this idea, this kind of brown thought processing. It's called brown because of the Nazi uniforms. So this kind of thinking, brown thinking, is dangerous. But at the same time, a certain kind of like a healthy patriotic way of seeing your own country, that you are proud to be. I told you in the last chat as well, the Germans have a hard time. They can't say, I'm proud to be a German, because then everybody will just point the finger at them, hey, you Nazi, because you're saying that. So if you're saying you're proud to be German, you're automatically called that kind of a person. And that is like really confusing. But we have to see, we have to wait. Like, right now, what is happening in Thuringia and Saxony, this is the
Hmm.
East Germany. We have to see in the next elections and the next state elections what are places like Bavaria going to vote for, North Rhine-Westphalia going to vote for, the other states, the West states. Then we will see in which direction this might go. Right now, it's all just fishing in the dark. I don't think you can say anything about it because this is just in two states. And where it will go, because the other political parties are refusing to go into a coalition with the AfD. And they're also refusing to go into coalition with the Sarah Wagenknecht's
Hmm.
party. So I don't, they might have to go for re-elections, because if it is just like that, nothing will move in these two states. Nothing will happen.
Why am I talking more Germany, France, and Italy? Because these are the only three powers that I see going forward. Italy is more or less, yeah, it's a good country, great country, good people, but economically, it's not valid at all. It's very, very small. Germany is the only place which, and which is where I see that a focus on Germany should be able to tell you the future of Europe, because Germany is the driving force behind Europe, and that's something that we know. But this German obsession with China, everybody wants to run to China. Annalena Baerbock will go there. Olaf Scholz literally was the first chancellor or first leader of the world to go and meet Xi Jinping after his so-called re-election. I mean, that's a nice stamp to have on a European leader, I must say.
It's
You're
kind of
going
like
and validating Xi Jinping.
Gerhard, what Gerhard Schröder was doing now, or what he's still doing. So you kind of
Yeah,
like, excuse me, what's
yeah.
going on there?
It's
Hmm.
ridiculous. That's what I'm trying to understand. Why would Germany not understand that, boss? China is a big problem, and their entire industry today in
Dependency.
China is
Are they
sorry.
having a big dependency on it? Maybe it's just a dependency
Yeah, there
factor.
is, but you need to
It's a
work on it,
huge
right?
dependency on it. Yeah. I mean, just to come back to this right wing extremist thingy, the leader, Björn Höcke, has been fined twice for using Nazi slogans.
Hmm.
So if you have somebody like that and that person is getting elected, then other political parties definitely have to wake up and do something about whatever they're doing. And I think maybe some of what is happening right now with the deportation and the immigration law changes that they want to look at has to do with this kind of a thing. Because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people who are voting for the AfD, they're just voting as a wake up call for the main government.
Do you think is there any chance for the IFD to come into power?
If I understood something about politics, is that whatever you think, it comes in a different way. It's like और कुछ अलग होने वाला है. पता नहीं है, देखते हैं. I'm not a political pundit. I'm just a German, and I'm just interested in politics. And I like to look at facts and look at data. And I find it always like you should not fall for anything. You should not fall for any propaganda on any side. You should always keep your thinking cap on. Like Sheldon Cooper is always putting his thinking cap on, and then from the Big Bang Theory. And we should all have that thinking cap. Not fall
The-
for either
I,
propaganda in any
I think
direction.
I think the cap is sunk along with the Nord Stream pipeline.
Uh,
It's not in a
yeah, but
condition that you
oh,
would kind of put it across at. But in any case, let's talk about another very interesting phenomenon before we end this interview. Is that there is a realization that there might be a issue with Russia, which I don't think there will be. This pre-obsession of Germans with Russia. When you were young in Germany, when you were studying in Germany, was there this thing talked to you that the Russians are the enemy?
no.
Okay, then why is it that the Germans are accepting Russians as the enemy today?
Uh, I think it has to do. I think my dad also sees it like that. He's very scared that they're going to march into Germany. So I
Okay.
think a lot of it goes to the media,
Mm-hmm.
and who feeds the media is another question. So I think a lot of it has to do with what kind of food you're being fed every day. So if somebody
Mm-hmm.
tells you this all the time, at one moment you're going to go like, yeah, 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 yeah. It's gonna like that. There's a chance this might happen. So there is a certain way of putting things, like everybody is in the German press is praising Kamala Harris like mad, and then demonizing Putin like mad. And there is a
Mm-hmm.
certain kind of propaganda that is going on. Then there's certain articles about India that come in a certain way. So when you know the reality of a country, like I live here, I know pretty much what's going on here, I hope. And then I go back home and I read the paper and I'm like, huh? This is nicely put in a very like microaggression kind of a way. So I think a lot of it has to, I would like put it back on media, and then we have to see who feeds the media.
I'll actually extend it by a little bit, if you don't mind. Is the factor that yeah, you know the what is the future when you actually sit down and look at all this stuff? You look at the rise of Islamism in Germany, and you look at the rise of the right. This is a recipe for an internal strife and a
Yeah.
dirty internal strife, right? A armed, dirty internal strife. Uh, do Germans today fear something like that? Because the UK has started talking about it, that there are far right groups in UK that have infiltrated into various places, and there are problems, and these protests are being done by the far right, and this and that and the other. So the UK has started talking about it.
Mm.
Uh, has Germany?
Not to my knowledge. I still feel like they are just trying to, the average German is just trying to hide. Just put your head down and just don't look right and left and just live your life.
You
There's this
know,
term, nach mir die Sintflut, what means after me the floods can come. But
sorry,
after
come
me.
again.
There's a term in Germany, nach mir die Sintflut, what means after me the storm can come, the floods can come, but after me, not while I'm here. It can happen.
You just gave me the topic for the show, and I've actually written it down. Germany is hiding from reality. You know,
I think so. I think a lot of people, they just don't want to see it, and the ones who are wanting to see it, they are confused who to vote for because they don't see any solutions being given to them by either political party. Because I feel like the Aadi is just hot air, and a lot of like it's brown thinking, what is also not. You're like, where is a normal political party that looks out for the people's wants and needs and stands up in the EU for those wants and needs? And Yeah, but it's easy, I'm just an armchair politician, I'm sitting and I can talk about it, but I also wouldn't know where to start and how to do it.
That's very interesting. I think that's going to be one of the problems that maximum number of Germans are also going to be facing. They probably want to do something about it, but don't know how to, because
Exactly.
their political process has been so kept away from them that they don't know how politics works, how governance works. So people are not wanting to actually get into it. Interesting perspective.
I grew up like that. I grew up without any political awareness. I don't think I was ever
That
under
was
the
by
impression
that was by
that
design.
my vote would count. I would never understand that my vote count, that it would mean something. I learned all this in this country, in Bharat. I became aware of what's going on here, and now I started looking there as well. What I was not interested in before. So the more I learn, the more I see, the more I go like, oh, okay, I don't know. I took the blue pill in the Matrix or something like this. I
That's
think
an
a lot of people.
interesting, and
I think a lot
I
of
think
people
that's a
they're
good
taking
takeaway.
that I don't know.
That's a good takeaway from the show. I think the audience would take away this, and I take away this, that the Germans are not looking at reality. Uh, Italians are very little in numbers. I don't know how far they'll see the reality. French are too far gone left. I don't know. They protest when they win. They protest when they lose. I really don't know what's up with the French. Um,
They
for me,
like it.
Germany had
I
they,
think it's in
they
their genes or something. The
yeah.
protest protesting.
To me, Germany was the only country which could do something in terms of changing Europe. And if but Germany is going to fall trap to the Americans, well, congratulations, Bangladesh in Europe.
Mm.
It's going to be a scary proposition, but that's where I think we are going. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you, having an interaction. And uh, my recommendation to you would be that keep us informed about what's happening in Germany, because that's one country I think we need to keep a track of. Because there you go. Volkswagen boss says that, you know, we will never be able to sustain. There you go.
Yeah,
Update
but
right now
see,
from AFP.
what were the winning numbers last year? How much money they made last year? How much dividend was being paid out? How many
Yes.
billions?
In
So
1 year,
yeah,
you've gone from being viable, paying off dividends, to shutting off your this thing in 1 year.
no, the share price has gone up. No, they said, oh, we have to cut down to be good competitors in the market. That's the story behind it.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you, Ji. Thank you so much, and see you next time. Jai Hind,
Okay,
Jai Bharat.
bye. Namaste.
Bye
Bye.
bye.